This is Mr. Wade doing an analysis of the second scene of Act 4. And I'm going to use the worksheet that I posted on the classroom stream for that same act. So I've got my the sheet open right here on the page, and I'm just going to go through the sheet in order. So we'll start with vocabulary. Just do this very quickly. So these are words that you probably have, not ever used before and maybe not have seen. So I'll just write down my understanding of what they are. Um, um, in the context of the scene. All right. So writ is written, sirrah is servant, forsooth is truly, peevish would be annoying, self-willed is proud, harlotry is honestly like uh, really, really rude. A harlot would be a prostitute. So it's almost, in this case, harlotry would be kind of wayward, loose. So Capulet is pretty insulting to his daughter. He's sort of he refers to her as a harlotry, and it's implied that he suggests that she's loose and wayward, which is, I mean, really the opposite of the truth. Shrift is technically absolution. So what that is the essentially it's God's forgiveness. Whoops. When you go to confession, you receive shrift from the priest, and shrift is like the kind of the forgiveness of God. That, and it usually comes with a set of instructions for how to how to recover from your sin. Mary look is really actually fairly straightforward. Happy appearance. Headstrong is proud. Whoops. Gadding is kind of like roaming. Behest is requests. Enjoined, asked. Prostrate, basically on your knees. If you're prostrate, you're basically like bowing. Beseech is to beg. Henceforward is from this time onward. And county is the count. And tush is like tisk or shush. It also might mean, like, don't say that kind of thing. Okay, I'm going to just go through the phrases too. It's a very short scene, so it's actually fairly simple to go through all this. So many guests invite here as here are writ, which just means basically invite everyone on this list. Same as his instruction in Act 1, Scene 2. So Capulet he always has this list of guests, and he sends somebody to invite the list. I'll try if they can lick their fingers. I'll choose the cook who can lick his fingers. Okay. A lot of the humor in Shakespeare is a bit over my head, but okay. We shall be much unfurnished for this time. Basically means we will, we don't have enough food, or we don't have enough supplies for this event. He may chance to do some good on her. He might be able to help her and give him what becometh love I might, not o'erstep the bounds of modesty. So Juliet says to her father, I saw Paris, and I gave him what become love I might, not step o'er the bounds of modesty. So I showed him let's see. I showed him that I loved him without being too forward. I think that makes sense. Before God means literally before God. It's an oath. It's basically like saying, I swear. All right, so let's take a look at some of the humor, which actually really terrifies me because Shakespearean humor is often too much for me. It's so old that I can't quite figure it out. But let's see what the servant says. "'Tis an ill cook that cannot lick his own fingers, therefore he that cannot lick his fingers goes not with me." So it's funny because it's a very low standard for choosing a chef. So it's basically he's saying anyone who can't lick his fingers can't be a chef. And it seems to me a very low standard for choosing his stuff, which is kind of why it's funny. All right, so dramatic irony. What do we know that is hidden from a character which makes these lines ironic, or gives them the opposite meaning of what we would understand? So in this case, Capulet says, "This reverend holy friar, our whole city is much bound to him." So Capulet is praising the friar for helping Juliet. But he doesn't know the friar is helping Juliet escape the wedding. So it's ironic because the friar is doing the opposite of what Capulet thinks, and therefore his words have the opposite meaning. Also, when eventually Romeo and Juliet do die, the deaths of the two lovers will bring peace to the city, to Verona. Therefore, Capulet words are ironically true. The city is bound to him, but for reasons that no one will be aware of until it's too late. So in a way, it's a little bit like the monkey's paw. You get what you wish, but the price is terrible. So the adults in Romeo and Juliet all want the city to be improved, and so they're getting their wish. They're getting peace. Verona will be improved, but at a terrible cost to both families. Okay, so I think that's kind of why there's some irony there. So let's take a look at some of the questions here. What is the parallel similarity between Capulet in this scene and him in Act 1, Scene 2. What does this suggest about his personality? So in both scenes, Capulet is planning a party. He even plans one after finding his daughter dead on her wedding day. So what does this suggest about Capulet's personality? Well, he loves planning parties and hosting. Perhaps this is, maybe he's sort of deflecting or ignoring some deficiency or problem in his life. You know, he loves fun, but he has a very sharp edge. You know, he screamed at Juliet, and you know, he won't tolerate opposition. Explain the exchange between Capulet and second servant. What is funny about what the servant says? Okay, my guess is that the servant has a ridiculously low standard for finding a chef. Would Shakespeare add humor to this part? Why would Shakespeare add humor to this part of the play? I actually don't know the answer to my own question, but it might reduce tension, or it might raise tension. It might reduce tension by providing comic relief, or it might raise tension by you know, being in a way sort of a calm before the storm. You know, there's nothing funny about the tragedy of Romeo and Juliet, but there's an awful lot of humor in the play. And, you know, I think the humor is put into the play to manage tension, to reduce tension after a bad scene, but also to kind of provide dynamics. Okay, number C. How does the fact that Capulet has ordered 20 cunning cooks influence our opinion as to whether he thinks Juliet will do as she has been told? What does this suggest about his opinion of his daughter? Is it possible the characters say what they don't mean? Okay, so this is actually a really good kind of sort of question, but there's 3 questions. So I'll treat it like 3 different questions. So I think the very fact that he's going through with this wedding plan suggests that she'll obey. Even though she refused to obey, he's confident that she'll obey. He's not even thinking about the possibility that she will die, like literally be dead before this happens. What does this suggest about his opinion about his daughter? That she can be influenced, that she can be influenced by threats and, you know, bribes, maybe, you know, the whole carrot and stick idea, that she is easily controlled. You know, and really, he doesn't really know her very well. I would say, you know, she's a lot like her parents. She's very, very strong-willed, you know, determined, strong-willed. You know, there's a lot about Juliet that reminds me of, you know, her mom and dad, even though her parents seem like really nasty people. But Juliet is really determined, and he doesn't really know her. The parents don't really know this. Okay, is it possible that characters say what they don't mean? So that's really not supposed to be a yes-no question. The answer is really meant to involve talking about Capulet. So maybe Capulet Capulet is revealing his own. What is this sort of revealing about him? Maybe he's revealing his own ignorance of his daughter, his own sort of resentment, because he's very insulting to her. He's very disrespectful towards her. Okay, what impression does Julia give to her parents? Why did she say them? What did she say to them to influence them? All right, so Juliet succeeds in convincing them she wants to marry Paris. She does this by, she apologizes. She goes, she prostrates herself on her knees. So she apologizes, she prostrates herself. She, basically accepts their plan for her and does everything to kind of make them not suspect anything. So she removes all suspicion. They don't know. She's really, really, really good at manipulating her parents. This as well. Stand up. What do these words suggest about Juliet's attempts to influence her parents? Well, she's basically on her knees, and this, she's really putting on a show. Explain the change in Juliet's mood. Why is she willing to apologize to her father? How does this serve to manipulate her father? Well, she is determined to make them trust her, so she can carry out the plan without their interference. She needs this plan to the plan must be carried out without error, and so she has to remove the parents. She doesn't want to fight with them. She doesn't want to complicate things. So this suggests her determination and her focus. She's playing her part very well. So she wants to fight and she wants to stamp her feet and scream and have a temper tantrum. But in this case, she's really focused. She's determined and playing her part very well. So it actually suggests that she's actually a pretty brilliant person. It actually reminds me of a story called Lamb to the Slaughter, which we did not study in class. But if you look at that story, there's a woman in it who basically plays a role and gets away with murder, literally. Okay, let's look at the next question. Examine the following lines by Capulet at the end of the scene. What do they tell us about his feelings and personality? I'll not to bed tonight. Let me alone. I'll play the housewife for this once. What ho, they are all forth. Well, I will walk myself to County Paris to prepare him up against tomorrow. My heart is wondrous light, since this same wayward girl is so reclaimed. Okay, so to me, what does it suggest about his feelings? So to me, I think Capulet is eager for the wedding. He loves planning and hosting events and parties. He loves socializing. So, he's a very sort of charming person. He's extremely social. He's not a private person. And he doesn't like any sort of what I would say, complications. He wants things to be simple and accord with his wishes. So he doesn't like any kind of opposition. And again, I'm not sure what you think that might reveal about him, but it seems to me that he might be he might have some problems himself. Okay, so that's the end of the scene. It's a short scene, and I'm going to post this recording as well as the answer sheet on the Google Stream. Thank you.